Так, hello. Yes, I had a very good day, thank you. Uh, I want to ask, is it everything good with my stream? Can you hear me well and see me well? Stream is fine. So I want to continue the match between Alexander Alekhine and Max Euwe from game 17. Okay, I had a question maybe for spectators. It seems me that I finished a report about this match on the game 15 and 16. But if nobody have seen 15 and 16 game, I can do it in next report. So it seems okay, even if I did this game before, so anyway, it would be interesting to see again with free eyes. So, as my question, as spectators' wishes, in next report I will do game 15 and 16. If not, I will today 17, 19, 18, and then I will continue. Okay, so 15 plus 16, it will be my next report. So, okay, I will do it. So before game 15, the score was equal because Alekhine lost in game 14 by terrible way. Rook takes h7, he lost. So game 15 was draw, and game 16 Alekhine won with black. So before game 17, score was +1 in favor of Alekhine, and we will consider this game today. So next report will be 15-16, and after I will continue from game 20 till the end. Together they played 30 games, and match finished with score 15 and half against 14 and half in favor of Max Euwe, and he became a world champion. Thanks everybody for appearing here. Thanks for subscription. Thanks for support my channel. So let's go to chess. So game 17, Alexander Alekhine is white. So d4, d5, knight f3, move order. It's Okay, knight f3, it's a logical move if white wants to avoid this line c4. After d takes c4, if knight f3, black can play a6. After immediately knight f3, a6 of course is possible as well, but now white can play something without c4. So bishop g5 looks like logical, or bishop f4 looks like logical. I don't know what is better, what is worse. Probably it's matter of taste, but both of these moves, I mean bishop g5 and bishop f4, are good enough for white. But okay, so knight f6, e3 played Alexander Alekhine. So much traditional move here is c4. In modern chess, bishop f4 is very popular line, and for example, after this, knight c6, knight bd2, this position is very popular. Now, for example, if queen b6, d takes c5, queen c3, bishop b5, g6, many game was played from this position. But okay, it's another story. So Alekhine played e3, and now black has choice. Max Euwe played bishop f5. Okay, if e6, white can play c4. Also possible to play bishop d3 and something like Colle system. This and then bishop b2, knight bd2. Also possible c3 to play with idea knight bd2 and e4. For example, this, 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 and now e4 is possible, b4 is possible as well with idea bishop b2, but okay, it's another game. Or c4 if bishop e7, b3, castle, bishop b2. This plan liked to play Vladimir Kramnik with white and then Veselin Topalov too. But okay, so bishop f5 played Max Euwe. There is question about cheating. Okay, of course, it's not something that I can support somehow. It's totally impossible. But what should be measures against? I don't know because I'm not organizer. Of course, it should be some measures. And now after bishop f5, very logical from white looks to play c4. And if c6 to play knight c3. And if e6, knight h4. Very popular position in modern chess. If e6, queen b3, I'm not sure because knight c6 is possible. And if queen takes b7, knight b4 is unpleasant. And after knight a3, black at least have draw here. Probably they can play for win also after rook takes a3 and knight c2. Although I'm not totally sure, maybe white has contraplay here. But okay, it's at least strange. But after e6, knight c3 looks quite normal move. And if c6, again, same position. If other move... well, maybe black can try to play something without c6, like bishop e7, for example. If queen b3, again knight c6, this idea. Probably this is possible. This is a fresh position somehow for me. I didn't see this position in games of top level. But Alekhine played bishop d3. Okay, first of all, thanks for subscription. What I think about Magnus statement, what I think. Difficult to say because I'm not sure if he is right or not. Okay, he is just his choice, and frankly speaking, it's strange to comment something because it looks like Magnus gave handicap, so he gave 1 point and easily qualified to top 8. I didn't qualify it without such handicap, so it's difficult to comment this. Okay, it's anyway unpleasant story, so I'm not ready for comment this now. So I would prefer to understand what about was thinking Alekhine and Euwe, so great players. I think it will be good idea. For example, after e6, knight c3, if black wants to avoid this line, bishop e7 looks like logical alternative. Because somewhere black can play c5. But knight h4 maybe here anyway it's possible. And if bishop g6, now queen b3 is possible. And now knight c6 is not totally work because white can take on b7, and after knight b4, white has time for queen b5 check and queen a4 is coming, and it looks like black has no enough compensation for the pawn. So probably bishop e7 just a dubious move. Who knows this? I'm trying to understand. So in chess, always there is possibility to put a question. So knight c3, what else can be considered? If not c6. Maybe bishop b4, like in modern chess. Queen b3, something. You know, h6, h6. 6. Let me think about. Maybe it's possible, but I have a question if I just take. If okay, if knight takes, I think I will be better after bishop d3 because I have strong center. So it looks like pleasant for white. If e takes d5, queen b3. Immediately queen b3 is possible as well, but knight c6. And now if c takes b5, probably black can consider even knight b4. Also, I'm not sure about this. Because of this, my idea was to take first and now to play queen b3 to avoid idea knight c6 and knight b4. And now knight c6, queen takes b7, knight b4, now bishop b5. It's not so clear. So what black should play now? King e7 is hardly good because knight e5 is coming. If rook b8, knight c6 checks. So what else? Knight d7, but now knight takes d5 is knight takes d5. Yes, knight takes d5 is possible, and it looks like bad for black because if rook b8 takes and queen takes a7, so it looks like bad for black. So maybe this position already really dangerous for black. Because okay, b6 is possible, but For surely not pleasant move. Bishop c8 also it's possible, probably nothing special. But white can consider even this if d takes e4, knight e5, this idea. So, okay, but maybe bishop b4 is possible, who knows? It's totally fresh position. Now white can consider this and knight e5. Okay, this is totally different game. So c4, e6, knight c3, it's a very logical attempt for white in this position. But Alekhine played bishop d3, also possible, but hardly aggressive moves. So, and now c5, where c5? Was question about c5 bishop, so we were consider here c5. Here c5 I don't think is good idea because c takes d5 and bishop b5 is coming. So Alekhine played bishop d3 and Euwe played e6. It's not totally necessary move, it's possible, but black has other logical moves. For example, just to take is possible, and after queen takes d3, now c6 to play, and with this exchange, it's difficult for white to fight for advantage. c6 is important to avoid queen b5 because after e6, queen b5 it works, because if knight c6, queen b7, knight b4, queen b5 check, and white is just pawn up. But after c6, black has very solid position, and c takes d4, d3 is hardly improvement. Black can just play e6 and later probably c5 even. So I don't think that white really can fight for advantage in this position. Of course, it's a playable position. Queen b3 is possible, for example. So maybe black can play even c6 with the idea to have queen b6, knight c3, e6, something like this. If e4, just wait, bishop e7. Okay, but this is probably a plan of Alekhine was to take here. Or e6, queen b3. Okay, it's nothing special. Queen c8 is possible, for example. And somewhere black can try a5, a4 to utilize position of white queen. For example, knight c3, knight d7, e4, knight b6. Idea after e5 to have knight fd7, castle a5. I want to play a4. If a4, bishop b4 with some contraplay. Okay, and also possible was bishop g6, of course. Hello. So bishop g6, idea if white plays knight e5, black can just ignore it, or can just take on d3 and later to play knight bd7 with idea to exchange this knight easily. So in this moment, black has choice. Same in this position from Slav defense. If white is not playing knight c3, e6, bishop, knight h4, if white is playing bishop d3, it's black has same choice. They can take on d3 and play knight bd7. Important to know this trap. This, bishop d2, a5, a3. a5 is important to avoid knight takes d5. Now white is winning the pawn. So a5, a3, bishop e7, after e4, knight c5. This is important to know. D takes c5, d takes e4, and black is taking this. Knight takes e4 only move, knight takes e4, bishop takes a5, rook a8, and then black is taking pawn c5 is good position. Probably even rook d3 is possible, I don't know. And again, black can play bishop g6, totally normal move. Idea to provoke knight e5, and after knight e5, black will take and play knight bd7. And they are ready to exchange knight. f4 is dubious because bishop b4, and then take on c3, knight e4. If I read Dorfman book, okay, I have seen this, but I didn't read very carefully. So Euwe played e6, he allowed to take on f5. Okay, it's also a reasonable choice, but as I explained, he could take on d3 or play bishop g6. So Alekhine took, play queen d3. Now it looks like double attack. So he attacked f5 pawn, and in same time he has threat to play queen b5. So if, for example, g6, queen b5, and black has no sufficient compensation for the pawn. So queen c8, accurate defense. b3 played. Why knight e5 and f4 is dubious? Let's see. I will explain. So c4, c6, knight c3, e6, bishop d3, bishop g6, knight e5, this, knight bd7, f4, I will play bishop b4, and then my plan is to take on, for example, castle, and then I will take on c3, and I will have very strong knight on e4. So, for example, I don't know, this, knight e4, and this position is hardly good for white because knight on e4 is much stronger than bishop on c1. Yes, I hope for everybody to have a nice evening. I will try to explain. So, and thank you that you are asking game 15 and 16, even if I commented them before. It's not nothing wrong to refresh it again, and probably I also can discover some new things because I remember very famous drafts player Ton Seisbrans, and he told about drafts that in drafts it's never possible stop to analyze. So in chess, totally the same. Also, he likes to play chess, but without such a big successes, unfortunately. Well, so f4 is dubious in such pawn structure. Let's come back to our heroes. So queen c8 played Max Euwe, reasonable choice to defend two pawns. b3 played Alekhine, so it looks like he wants to play bishop a3 and exchange bishop. Who is the strongest player? Very difficult to say. There are many strong players, and very difficult to say who is the strongest. Sometimes I can compare against whom I had better results, against whom worse, but it not always means that one of them is strong and other one is worse if somebody has better score against me. So it's not enough characteristics. So it creates move knight a6. So here it's important method. So he is not hurried to play with bishop because after bishop e3 he wants to take from f8. Okay, probably he wanted to play knight b4. It's also possible, but I'm not sure that knight b4 is so strong because queen e2 white can just play, and then after c3 knight will go back. So my prediction that after bishop a3 Max Euwe just planned to play this, and then c6, knight c7, something like this. My favorite player, probably Jose Raul Capablanca, but well, I like many players, and I like many different games from different players. So Alekhine not Harry, he played castle. And now Euwe played bishop e7. Okay, he could play c6, of course. It was probably even more logical to keep same strategy, not hurry to play with bishop, wait bishop a3, and after bishop a3 to take from f8, not wasting tempo for bishop e7 or bishop d6. If, for example, c4, knight c7. So black has many useful moves. Next move can be g6, and only after bishop e3 I will take. After bishop b2 I will go with my bishop somewhere. So I think it was more logical than bishop e7 what played Euwe, because now logical attempt for Alekhine was bishop a3 to exchange this bishop. Okay, I am not claiming that this is clear advantage for white, so nothing special. Black is solid, but for example, I would prefer to have, if I am black, I would prefer to have rook on e8. So temps, I respect temps in chess. Okay, Alekhine plays c4. Anyway, he doesn't want to play bishop a3. In my opinion, bishop a3 was more logical plan, but he played this, c6. And now, if c takes d5, I think knight b4 was idea, and take with knight. It's also similar idea in Catalan opening. Against Magnus 2015. Okay, was Trompowski opening. Magnus. Okay, I can prepare this. Yes. Okay, so let's see. I wanted to show you this motif from Catalan. D4, D5, C4, E6, knight F3, double pawn. It's very concrete question. But I wanted to show you this method. This after queen c2, c5, after castle, black can play knight c6, and after c takes d5, knight b4, and then take with knight after queen d1. So this method. D takes c5 is possible. Now d4 is very complicated game. Well, so let's come back. Bishop b2, knight e4. I'm not so sure that this is the best. It's normal move, but probably black can play something else. For example, rook e8 looks logical. Queen e6 looks like logical move. Okay, but Max Euwe played knight e4. Again, if c takes d5, he wants to play knight b4 and then take on c3 and take with knight. So rook fc1 played Alekhine, rook d8, queen e2, queen e6 played Euwe. So I'm not sure if he's still fighting for d5 square for peace or not, or he's agree for cd. It's a big question. So he played queen e6. Of course, black could play knight c7, logical move, but after queen e6, white can take on d5, queen is attacked, and there is question, because if pawn takes, knight b5 looks like pleasant for white somehow. So it's good idea to have knight on b5 against knight on a6, especially rook c8 is hardly possible because pawn a7 is hanging. But interesting to check knight takes c3. Probably this was idea of Max Euwe. Mm, yes, maybe, but so queen takes a6 we can consider even. Is it craziness? Desperado motive. And now if b takes e6, d takes knight this, rook takes c1. Probably this is very pleasant for white because black cannot defend c6 pawn. But after queen takes a6, if knight takes d5, queen takes b7, and knight b4 maybe also, but at least d5 is coming, and then knight d4. Okay, crazy, but I like craziness in chess sometimes. Queen takes d5 probably is the best option, however. And now if queen takes b7, knight e2 check. And what is this? So where to go? The problem if king f1, knight takes c1. And if rook takes c1, black has queen b5 check. So this is problem. So if this, okay, at least knight d3 is possible, probably queen b5 check is possible as well. So if queen not taking, black can go back to e4 with quite comfortable position, although totally playable for white as well. Only this is impossible because takes and knight e2, of course. Yes, king h1. I want to consider this. King h1 is logical, but what is this? So knight takes c1, rook takes c1. So what is this? So king h1 certainly better than king f1. And how evaluate this position? So black has exchange up, but they are losing pawn on c6. So let me see it. And for endgame, white has quite bad king, so I think black should be fine. Uh, Bishop d6, if queen c6 takes rook c8, and white has problem because his king is very far from c line. So now, for example, if you match king on f1, now rook c4 would be good move probably for white. But if with king on h1, rook takes c4 and rook b8 is extremely dangerous. So probably here it's not good for white at all. And rook takes c6. Okay, rook takes c6 may be possible. Not losing immediately because after rook a b8, white has queen a6, but okay, black has good contraplay, even f4 is possible now. So I don't think that white can pretend for advantage, but it was funny variation at least. So I think knight takes c3 was afraid Alekhine. I'm sure that both calculated this line with queen a6, queen takes d5. So Alekhine played a3, knight c7. Alekhine played c5. So he changed plan. Now position is close, is it? And rook e8 played Max Euwe. b4, f4 immediately. Of course, black has choice. Totally possible was course, play something like bishop f6, because b5 at the moment not possible. Black can take on c3 and take on b5. If a4, okay, a6 is possible. Still stop b5, and black can improve his position slowly. Queen d7, knight e6 is possible plan. But okay, Euwe played f4. It's more concrete attempt. So this tactical choice. Rook b3, a6, g3, rook d1. Alekhine offered a draw and Euwe accepted. Okay, white has only one weakness. Okay, position probably slightly better for white after rook e7 or h5, for example, but nothing special. So draw. And now we will consider game 18, where Max Euwe was white. Is it everything good with voice and video? Please confirm me it. I need to be sure about this. I want all good, thank you. So game ah it is game 16. My illusion was I was prepared game 17, 18, and 19, but this is 16. Game 16 I see, and another one. Another one, what was? So this is 16, and this game, what is? Alekhine Euwe. Okay, probably this is not game 16. Before the game 80, after game 19, I remember it was score +2. So this is game 19. So but instead of 18, I put game 16. So okay. Okay, I will check. So for sure my plan till game 14 I commented all games, so I will check if this is game 16. So I commented already game 17, and yes. And now game 16, previous game. So c4, Max Euwe played with white. e5. Maybe, no, it's game 18. Yes, it's game 18. 16 is number of moves. It's not, number of game. So, so I correctly put, this is game 18. Yes, this is game 18. So, yes, before 18, Alekhine was +1. After game 19, he was +2 because he won with white in game 19. Yes. So still, my next report will be game 15 and 16. So e5, knight f3, very interesting choice. It's Rubinstein system with extra tempi. I mean this system. So e4, c5, knight f3, knight f6, e5, knight d5. Rubinstein system. If compare, white is playing with extra tempi because knight c6 is, because knight f6 is useful move. So very interesting choice. From modern players, Alexander Rakhmanov likes to play this with white. He is also big fan of Rubinstein system for black. And very interesting, I want to show you. Uh, there is system if white wants to avoid Najdorf variation, so black wants to play Najdorf. After d4, c takes d4, knight takes d4, knight f6, knight c3, a6. So this is Najdorf variation. Sometimes, if white wants to avoid Najdorf variation, they are playing knight c3, and after d6 they are playing e5. After d takes e5, knight takes e5. This idea if a6, d4, g3, and if queen c7, d4. If c takes d4, queen takes d4. If knight c6, knight takes c6, queen takes c6, bishop g5. Strong move. And white is ready for long castle. If black is taking the rook, long castle is terrible for black. Because queen d8 mate is threat, and another threat is bishop b5 check and take the queen. So it's famous variation. Okay, black has queen d6 here, but very interesting that Ante Brkic, Croatian grandmaster, played here bishop d7 to prepare knight c6, which seems like quite logical. And if compare with this, sometimes white is playing knight e3, d5, this, bishop b5, bishop d7, knight e5. So, and if this, queen f3, f6, knight takes b5. It's a sharp line, knight a6, queen h5, g6, takes, queen d7. So black has compensation for exchange. Okay, it's complicated position. But Alexander Rakhmanov's idea to avoid this played knight f6. And now we see position which played Brkic, but now bishop on b5. So for sure for white is better to have bishop on b5 than on f1. This is big difference. Now white is slightly better because knight cannot go to c6. On d7 knight is not so active as on c6. But after bishop d7, black is ready to play knight c6, and it looks like very comfortable game. So his opponent played g3, I mean opponent of Ante Brkic, after knight c6, knight d7, queen d7, bishop g2, e6, castle, bishop e7, d3, castle, and then black plan is simple, rook ac8, b6, knight d4, rook fd8, so he won quite a good game with black. Okay, I'm not claiming that white is worse here, but at least black has no any opening problem. So I really like bishop d7. So, okay, I don't know if this is really novelty, but I have seen first time so Ante Perkic played this. Well, so come back to Alekhine and Euwe, so c4, e5, knight f3, e4, principally. Knight c6 is possible, of course, logical alternative. Good that you knew a lot of openings, yes. Thanks for subscription. Knight c6 is possible, white has choice, probably knight c3 is the most solid, although, of course, d4 is possible to consider, d3 even possible to consider. But okay, Alekhine principally played e4, knight d4, knight c6, knight c2. Alexander Rokhmanov uh, playing this position, knight c3, knight f6, e3, something like this. Okay, this question about Suetin, I never played against him serious games, but I remember he wanted me to show some variation in Queen's Gambit Accepted, where he was really great expert. And okay, he showed me some variation. I listened to him carefully with all of my attention, and then then uh, then I proposed him, okay, so I understand your ideas, thank you very much, and I proposed him to play a thematic blitz match in Queen's Gambit accepted. As I remember, I won this match, but it wasn't 10 times in a row, so at least I didn't win all of games. Okay, so 2 times in a row, it's too much. But later, I was really impressed by Suetin when I started to see his games when he was young, about 50s, about 1960s. And I was very impressed of his play, of his opening preparation for that moment of chess series. And I recommend to everybody to see games of Suetin 50s, 60s, probably even 70s. Who was the oldest world champions? Okay, I never met Max Euwe. I never met Bobby Fischer. So certainly it was Mikhail Moiseyevich Butvinnik was the oldest whom I met, and I have quite pleasant memories about him. Also, Vasily Smyslov. Against Vasily Smyslov, I even played 9 or 10 games, something like this. Well, so knight c3, instead of taking off c6, choice of Alexander Rakhmanov, Max Euwe played knight c2, modest move in style of um, Aron Nimtsovich. Black has white choice. Alekhine played knight f6. Totally possible was to play f5 in style of Dutch defense. And then knight f6. But okay, knight f6 he played, knight c3, bishop c5. He's trying to develop pieces as soon as possible. b3, castle, g3. So this is something like hypermodernism, it calls. So white wants to play bishop g2, bishop b2, knight e3, knight d5, something like this. Nimtsovich liked such a moves like knight c7, probably even it was Nimtsovich who played, or knight c2 he played. It was very famous game. Even against Alekhine he played knight c2 probably here. Probably with white and also with black he liked it. I don't remember exactly position, but something like this. So maybe this something like this, and then knight ec6. So it's maybe not just in this position, but idea knight e7 and then go somewhere. Okay, so Euwe starts to play this, but okay, b3, g3 looks a little bit strange. If, for example, imagine that I am playing g3 after castle, much more natural looks to play bishop g2 instead of b3 and immediately attack the pawn. But probably after g3, I was afraid something else, but I don't know what exactly. Maybe knight e5 he was afraid, who knows. Now pawn c4 is attacked. If b3, probably something like this is possible. As a knight cannot go to g4 because knight takes e4. So this doesn't work. because this. But knight eg4 is possible with idea if e3 come back, and white has some weakness here. So probably this afraid Max Euwe. Because of this, he started with b3 to defend the pawn. Because now, if knight e5, it's not necessary for white to play g3. After knight e5, very logical to play d4. E takes d4, e takes d3, and white is ready for d4 with Stampy. So very creative choice of Max Euwe for this game. So castle g3. And now knight g4 doesn't work because knight takes e4. And white is ready to play bishop g2, bishop b2, knight e3, something like this, in style of hypermodernism. Okay, it's big question how objectively it's strong if black just playing something like this, rook e8, castle, even h5 is possible to consider with idea h4, so it's not so obvious that this is really strong. But okay, so Alekhine decide to play d5 immediately, very concrete choice. So c takes d5. If knight takes e4 is prepared. But knight b4. So this is idea many years ago was used by Anatoly Karpov in a different move order. I mean this, e3, bishop e7. So, and here Jan Timman played d4. d4 is not the best move. The best is a3 here, and after castle to play queen c2. This is the best. Probably b4 is also possible. But Jan Timman played after bishop e7. Bishop e7, it's not a common choice in modern chess. Usually strong players playing bishop b4 here. Because a3, queen c2. But Jan Timman played d4, and after castle, knight is d4 castle, bishop e2, d5. After knight c6, b takes c6, castle, bishop d6, Anatoly Karpov won very illustrative game against Jan Timman. And important points that if white is taken on d5, now after knight d5, pawn structure is bad for black, but after c takes d5, black has knight b4 idea. So same as Alekhine did, and white cannot protect his pawn d5. So if castle, knight takes d5, and black successfully solved their opening problem. Okay, it's playable position anyway after e4, for example. But the point, white cannot defend his pawn with e4. e4 is mistake here, because knight takes e4 is coming. And after knight takes e4, queen takes d5. Knight e4 is attacked directly. It's better I will take black from Alekhine side. So queen takes d5. So black wants to take knight e4, and if white is protect, this knight queen takes d4. And black is pawn up. So this is very important idea in this variation. So d5 and knight b4. And Alekhine realized this. Let's see. Euwe took on b4. Very logical looks bishop g2. I have no idea why Max Euwe didn't play this. Probably because if rook e8, like in the game, he can take on b4 now if he wants, but he can consider some other moves. Okay, probably nothing special because if bishop b2, knight b takes d5, so probably also possible that Max Euwe afraid knight takes d5. If knight takes e4, takes bishop h3. It's, maybe black has serious compensation because white cannot castle and rook e8 is coming. So Max Euwe took on b4, bishop takes b4, and in this interesting position, I need to take 10 minutes break. So I will come back soon. Please wait me. So I'm here again. I'm looking at chart. Just a moment, because many things was written. So I need to see you soon. Uh, Countryman in the chat, almost like this streamer in our country. Okay, thank you very much for your wishes. From today, I didn't see any of Ukrainian listener because probably it's too late for Ukrainian people now. But usually there are some people from Ukraine, but from today never wrote from Ukraine. Якщо хтось є з України, будь ласка, напишіть. Буду радий бачити своїх співвітчизників. Так, I'm looking questions. Thank you. Yes, I'm asking people. I'm Київ на зв'язку, дуже приємно. Вітання зі Львова. Бережіть себе, всього вам найкращого. Так. Okay, usually I'm asking people if there are some game which they want me to show them. So it's possible to request if you have wishes. Just a moment. Take requests. Otherwise, a break. More viewers. Thank you. Thank you. Real good stream. Thank you. I'm trying to do my best. Thank you. Teach. Okay. Neither for sure. Yes. Bigger Italian opening. Okay, I can Italian. I can write for myself Italian open, and also was wish about Rossolimo. Italian and Rossolimo. Okay, I can prepare some material about this. Gucci pianissimo. Okay, hello again. Welcome back. So bad for Marshall? Why? You mean Frank Marshall, or you mean Marshall counterattack? What you mean? You feel bad from Marshall? Not Ukraine. Kiev, it's Ukraine. Capital of Ukraine, very nice city. Carlsen Nibak. Carlsen Nibak. Carlsen Nibak. Nibak. Olympiad 2008. Which opening was Carlsen Nibak? We are talking about Marshall attack. Yes, 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 yes. Marshall played for the first time. Yes, yes. What? Karpov Korchnoi Dragon. Aha, Karpov Korchnoi. Okay. Karpov Korchnoi Dragon. But just a moment. But it wasn't in 1979. It was in 1974, I think you mean. Famous game with knight DE2. It was 1974 match, not 1979. Okay, good. Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's continue chess. So we are here. Mikhail Tal, okay, of course. I started to explain much against Larsen, Tal Larsen, but I didn't finish yet. Peers in classical games, so it's totally possible choice. Only question if you want to play Peers, do you want to have knight on f6 or not? Probably you can start with g6, bishop g7, and in some variation, not hurry to play knight f6. So it's you need to decide for yourself. Well, so bishop takes b4, played Alekhine. Yes, but after g6, bishop g7, white can play also d4, c4. It will be not Pirts, it will be King's Indian. Benko Gambit, it's really interesting. There are good videos of Kalifman on Levitov chess. I recommend to see it. I recommend to see all videos of Khalifman. He's doing excellent, you can believe me. So, bishop takes b4, and there is series of video about Benko Gambit, which prepared by Kalifman. So bishop takes b4 took Alekhine, bishop g2, rook e8, castle, bishop f5. Okay, let me see it. What is this? So castle is very natural move, but only question if it's totally necessary. For example, is it possible to consider bishop b2 instead of castle? Maybe it's a logical decision as well, because now if knight takes d5, I have knight takes e4, and maybe it is dangerous somehow for white, but I'm not totally sure. For example, bishop f5, knight c3. I'm thinking about bishop d3, but bishop d3 it's too much because I can just take on d5, and against queen I will have too many pieces. And another idea to take, but now d take, and black has no bishop d3 anymore, so it just doesn't work. So after bishop b2, black hardly can take on d5 immediately, so bishop f5 is possible, but now white can think probably about rook c1 to fight for his pawn. If knight takes d5, knight takes d5, queen takes d5, rook takes c7. Maybe it's dangerous, however. Queen d7, bishop h3, in which moment? Sorry. Here, queen d7. You mean? Well, but bishop h3, it's not something terrible for white. I can play queen c2. With quite playable position. And if knight takes d5, knight takes d5, queen takes d5, rook takes c7. Maybe it's very dangerous for white also, but maybe it's possible. Because if, for example, rook a d8, bishop c3 I can play. h5, h4, yes, sometimes it's possible, but not clear. So this is maybe rook c8, however. Rook takes, and now if white is castling, black can take on d2. So this looks like very good compensation. Oh, bishop c3, unfortunately impossible, because rook takes c3 is winning. So this is good for black. If castle, queen takes d2. Or even bishop takes d2 is possible, because I don't see how white can utilize the spin. Okay, so this is too dangerous. Uh, but maybe instead of rook takes c7, white can consider rook c4, something like this. Okay, maybe. But Euwe played castle, very natural move. Bishop f5, bishop b2, knight takes d5. So takes d3, rook a d8. Everything is very natural. D takes e6, bishop takes e4, queen takes d5, and in this position they agreed to draw. I'm trying to understand why. First of all, black should take the queen, but with bishop or with the rook? It's question. Not so obvious question. So if black is taking queen with, so I will write that this is draw already. Just a moment. Queen takes d5, draw. And now we will continue. So if rook takes d5, I think the best for white is to play rook fd1. Only question if immediately or after bishop takes e4. Maybe bishop takes e4 is more precise. Okay, rook takes e4, rook d1. Now it looks like black should take, rook takes d1. Of course, black cannot take on e2 because they are losing after bishop a3. It's of course very primitive, of course, but I showed the slide. But so probably the best for black is to play bishop d6 with equal positions. Bishop a3 doesn't work because black can take and then go back to f8. So king f1 and f6 equal endgames. So if immediately rook d1, okay, black can do more or less same. Example, takes, and bishop d6. Equal endgame. So rook takes d5. If bishop takes d5, okay, I think if now white is taking, it can be some trouble for white because white is losing d line and it's unpleasant for white somehow. Okay, probably not terrible. Probably draw is still very likely after rook d5, rook takes d5, rook c1, and then rook c2. But at least white need to defend. So more precise looks to play rook fd1 immediately, and now obviously black cannot take on e2 because bishop takes d5 and bishop f7 and is coming and lose. If this is too complicated for you, don't worry. You can give exchange. You can give me a question if somebody is difficult to understand. I will try to explain you it. So rook fd1 immediately is rook takes e2 is bad. So better for black is just take and now to play something like f6. But okay, so I think, in my opinion, that it was mistake for Alekhine uh, agree to draw immediately in this position because in this match he had quite a big advantage over Max Euwe in endgame. So, because he is not Wolves, he could try to play, for example, king f7, king e6, and later probably c5, b5, so realize extra pawn on queen's flank. So I think from Alekhine was a little bit premature to agree for draw in this position. Also from psychological reason. Okay, very likely game would be ended to draw, but Alekhine could chance to stress his opponent. Sometimes it's important. Thank you. So bishop takes d5 certainly better than rook takes d5. And now after the best rook fd1, bishop takes g2, king takes g2, f6. It's okay, it's drawish, but this is playable endgame. It's not total draw. But Alekhine agreed to draw. In my opinion, dubious decision. Well, so last for today will be game 19, which Alekhine won with white. So d4, not this game, just a moment. So d takes c4, a4, instead of standard bishop f5, which was played many times in this match. Euwe played e6, another logical move. And now, after e3, black has c5, one version of Queen's Gambit accepted, but without a6. Many games was played. Also possible for white to play bishop g5 here. It's also possible. But Alekhine played e4. Bishop b4 is the best. e5, knight e4. Knight e4 is dubious slide according to theory. So knight d5 is certainly the best. After bishop d2, b5. In this position, for example, after a takes b5, bishop takes c3, b takes c3, c takes b5, knight g5, black has several moves. Queen e7 is possible, knight d7, bishop b7, and knight c6. And I played knight d7 against Rajabo. And there is a nice trap. For example, if black plays knight c6, queen h5, queen is no, knight takes c3 impossible. Knight takes c3 losing move because queen f3. So knight takes c3, please not do it. Knight c6, nice trap. If queen h5, queen e7. Now bishop e2 is the best for white. But if knight takes h7, it's a very bad move. Black can play queen f8. Smart move, and black is winning because if knight f8, rook takes h5, if other move, queen g8 is coming. So it's smart trap. Of course, white should play bishop e2 with a good compensation. Yes, queen f8 is smart move. It's a very famous trap. Also, objectively, black is very good also after king d8. It's very likely. It's also enough, but queen d8 is prosaic decision. Queen f8 is really romantic and strong in the same time. So okay, so knight e4 is not the best according to modern theory, but they played in 1935. Please not forget about this. So queen c2, natural reaction. And now if queen a5, white can just take and play king d1 and then take on c4 with better position. So queen d5 played Max Euwe. Alekhine played bishop e2, very natural move. He's preparing for castle. Maybe there is some choice, however. I mean, maybe knight d2 is possible. Who knows? It's not so clear. Knight d2 idea that black cannot take because now knight takes d5 is possible. So bishop takes c3 more or less forced. Knight takes d2, and if bishop takes, c5 is coming. If queen takes, probably c5 as well. So black has contraplay. So bishop e2, very logical, c5. Black need to do something. If black is doing nothing, castle, and white has a lot of threats, because pseudo-active knight on e4 is weakness of black's position here. So c5 played, Max Euwe, castle. So now queen is under attack. Please not forget it. It's Garden. So bishop takes, knight takes c3 played. Bishop takes c3 also possible, but after b takes c3, black has problem with his knight. Okay, maybe knight c6, maybe not so terrible situation, because but what to do what after rook d1? So now d takes c5 is extremely unpleasant threat, and I don't see how black can defend against, because if c takes d4, knight takes d4 is coming. If knight takes e5, knight b5, if queen c6, queen takes e4, and white wins. So this is really dangerous for black. Okay, probably not knight c6, probably b6 is possible to consider to prepare bishop b7, but anyway, white has very strong initiative here. Okay, so Max Euwe took with knight and took on d4. So now if white is taking bishop, d3 is prepared, and what is this? I don't know. Okay, we can check. According to Viktor Lvovich, we are on analyze, so we can check everything what we want. So d3, bishop takes d3, queen takes d3, queen takes d3, c takes d3. So black is pawn up, but of course not for a long time. So white can play rook d3, rook d1, and take the pawn back. But so what is this? Surely white is not worse, because they are taking pawn back, but question if they have advantage. It's not so obvious. Probably they even have some advantage, but I'm not totally sure. For example, after knight c6, even bishop a3 is possible to prepare b5. So it was quite interesting possibility, but probably Alekhine decides that it will be not something big for him. So he took c takes d4. Another option, probably knight takes d4 was possible, but bishop c5, not so clear how white can attack. Because if knight b5, black can take on e5. Although it's far from clear for me. So if queen takes e5, g3 is coming. Still tricky, because bishop f4 is quite an unpleasant threat. g5 is hardly a good move. It's possible, but very risky. If knight a6, bishop f4 is coming, and then knight d6 check, so also possible was played this for white. So actually here white has quite wide choice. So Alekhine took on d4 with pawn, but other moves was totally possible. So c takes b4 was possible with endgame, and also knight takes d4 was possible. This possibility to fight for initiative. Also even possible to play something like this. If bishop takes d4, bishop f3, also white has some initiative here. For example, queen c5, just take, bishop e3. Okay, queen d3 probably, so it's complicated. So Alekhine took its natural choice. After c3, he played bishop d2. understandable decision. He wants to take his pawn back. Probably this is the best decision in the position, but maybe it was possible to consider another possibilities as well. I mean, bishop e3, something like this, knight c6, rook fd1, to prepare knight g5, knight e4, but maybe h6 is possible. Probably this is less convincing because c3 pawn is quite strong. White has compensation, bishop d3, then bishop e4, but okay, bishop d2 is very natural, queen a5. Took on c3, rook a3. Of course, black cannot defend his piece, so knight c6, rook takes c3. What is the purpose of queen a5? Okay, good question. But what is alternative? Bishop d7, for example. Bishop takes c3, bishop takes c3, queen takes c3, and bishop c6. But okay, now even white can consider queen a3 with idea to prevent castle. Okay, no reason for sorry, it's totally okay. Also here black can consider this probably. With idea to exchange queens, so without queens black has more chances to equalize the game. So probably you are totally right that bishop d7 was better than queen a5, because now queen c6 is a strong move, and black is forcing to exchange queens. But I'm not sure, because if queen takes c3, queen b1, queen is trapped. So if bishop, okay, bishop takes c3, and now I have threat to take on a1 if white moves with queen. Bishop b5 before rook fc1, bishop b5, and what is your idea after queen takes c3? Queen b1, is it possible? Maybe possible, but hard to believe that this is strong. I can just take. Take and rook fc1. Okay, but if you are taken and okay, if rook fc1, first of all, I can take the rook and you are piece down. Okay, there is pin, probably some chances for draw, but black has extra piece. Rook ac1, but for sure white is not pretending for. Even bishop a5, bishop d8 is possible. It's not better because bishop a5, bishop d8. So bishop d7 I like here. So probably c takes d4 was not the best. Probably c takes b4 actually was better for white. After d3 takes and rook d1. And this endgame looks like more pleasant for white because bishop c1 is much more active than bishop on c8. And white has advantage with space. Okay, probably not too much, but certainly not pleasant to play with black in this position. But here, after c3, okay, after bishop d2, yes, bishop d7 was correct move, looks like. And after bishop c3, another good move, queen c6. If, for example, rook c1, I want to take I attacking rook. So if queen c3, so without queens, I think black has no big problem. So bishop c6 is possible, or even knight c6 is possible. So I don't think that this endgame can bring some problem for black. So it looks like black can equalize here easily if rook b1, rook b8 simply. Knight d2 or knight g5 not possible because d4 is hanging, so it's nice opportunity for black to play queen c6. Probably, okay, probably white can try something like this, bishop b5, intermediate move. Maybe this is stronger somehow. Because now if queen c8 or queen c7, white can play with queens. For example, this. So with queens, certainly white has more chances. Or queen b3. So bishop b5 probably is the problem for black here. Okay, so bishop b5. Yes, bishop b5 is good. Okay, so queen a5 played max aim. It takes rook a3. Knight c6, rook c3. So for black, surely would be much better to have this position without queens. But with queens, more dangerous because if castle in some moment, even knight g5 can be really unpleasant. Also, just now, maybe castle was a reasonable choice because after knight g5, immediately f5 is possible and white cannot take here because queen takes g5. If takes rook f7 and white has no enough compensation for the piece. So if rook c5, okay, queen d8, so black not allow knight g5 immediately. Okay, white has active position, but black can play bishop d7, rook c8, something like this. So probably castle was a logical choice. This idea knight g5, f5. Of course, white can consider knight g5, f5, and just come back to f3, and then bishop c4, queen b3, something like this. Try to utilize weakness on e6. Or firstly, after f5, rook d1, only after h6, come back to f3, or even knight h3, knight f4 is possible plan. F4 squares can be very good for white knight. So probably Max Euwe afraid this. So he played bishop d7, but now Alekhine immediately attack pawn b7 and surprisingly difficult to defend this because if rook b8, white can just take and take and yes, and take on h8. White is winning because black has no check from e1. So queen c7 is possible, but after queen c7, knight g5 extremely unpleasant. Black cannot castle, and white is ready. Knight e4, knight d6. So probably Alekhine played really strong. So this was more stubborn, but anyway, after rook fc1, with important idea bishop b5, I don't see how black can equalize in this position. But anyway, it looks like better than game a little bit. Okay, we can try it to defend this position. For example, queen c7 I will play. So white should play queen d3 or queen b3. But okay, so if queen d3, I can play, for example, h6, rook takes c3, knight c6, something like this, with idea to prevent knight g5. But in that case, white can consider knight d2 and knight e4 is coming. So still not so pleasant for black to play in this position. Standard plan 92. So after bishop b5, I don't see how black can solve his problem comfortably. It's very important intermediate move. So probably Alekhine played strong choice. What else? Maybe knight d7. We can consider this. But anyway, rook fc1, if queen c6, bishop takes c3. I mean queen c6, this idea. So my idea is queen d5 after bishop b5. Just a moment. I want to see it. So it was bishop, this, queen c6, this queen d5 is your proposition. Okay, but what is after queen takes c3? Just castle? Or what? But this is hardly pleasant. Because, or bishop takes b5 may be possible. No, bishop takes b5 is bad because I have check. And after queen d8, a takes b5, and you are losing pawn b7. And so queen d5, queen takes c3. Why not bishop e7? Okay, we will consider bishop e7. But so you should play castle now. But after castle, bishop c4, and hola, Miguel. And still unpleasant for black, because if queen c6, knight g5 is coming. Okay, knight g5, h6, sorry. Probably not knight g5, probably queen e3, for example, with idea to prepare knight g5 or bishop d3. So still not pleasant. After bishop c3 was idea to play bishop e7. This is interesting. Avoid exchange of bishop. Yes, this is interesting. Bishop e7. So black wants to play bishop c6 and knight d7. No, knight d2 looks like very logical choice. And now black, if knight c6 with idea, if bishop f3, knight takes d4, I can just play queen b2 and bishop f3 is probably black is already losing, surprisingly, because bishop f3 is stable mistake. So bishop c6, bishop f3, queen one position maybe stable black. Knight e4, bishop 5 is possible, and knight. Yes, I guess it was good for it. So any problem instead of queen b2? Bishop c4, yes, even more simple, yeah. No, bishop c4 more simple because knight takes d4, queen d3. You are right. Okay, but knight c6 is bad move, so bishop c6, yes. Bishop c6 is correct. After bishop f3, queen d7. If knight e4, bishop d5, and black is preparing for knight c6, and this position looks like playable for black. knight c6 or knight a6 and rook c8. If rook fd1, for example, with idea knight c5, black can consider also knight a6. So probably I agree this was a very good idea to avoid exchange of bishops. So start to play with bishop d7 and queen c6 is dubious move actually, but bishop e7 is strong move. And probably it was the best defense for black. And now, okay, the position looks like okay. It's just playable for both, but at least I don't see any serious advantage for white as Alekhine received in the game. Yes, you are right. Thank you. I like idea bishop e7. So c takes d4. Okay, but Max Euwe played bad, and now he cannot defend the pawn. Long castle also looks like terrible because white has winning attack for nothing. So he played castle. Now he is giving pawn already. So white can take immediately on b7, but Alekhine played rook c5, intermediate move also possible. If queen c7, knight g5 is very unpleasant. Black has no uh, resource f5 anymore, because if immediately knight g5, f5 is possible. It's question how good it is, but at least white cannot take on f6, and d4 is hanging somehow, so black has some contraplay. Also, maybe anyway, white is better after rook c5. If knight takes d4, just rook a5 and rook takes b7. It looks like pretty unpleasant for black. Queen takes h7, in which moment? Queen takes h7. Where queen takes h7? I'm considering castle, so knight g5 I'm considering. f5 and rook c5. If e takes f6, queen takes g5. And e takes f6 is not possible. White just losing the piece without sufficient compensation. Sound low, okay, put sound on maximum. So rook c5 played, and now if queen c7, knight g5 is possible, because f5 now white can take. If g6, knight e4 is coming, this is terrible for black. Favorite game? I don't know what's my favorite game. I'm just analyzing. So Euwe played queen d8. He is giving pawn, but he is defending against knight g5. Alekhine took the pawn. Bishop c8. Rook b1. Euwe took pawn back, but he lost exchange. This is really bad for him. Bishop d7. Takes. So white has exchange up and technically winning position. So how Alekhine realized this advantage, we will see now. a5, very logical. g6, okay, maybe h6 is better, but anyway, white should win here. g6, he played rook d1, queen b4. Of course, white has many moves. Just h3 probably is possible. Open the window for white king. Endgame is losing and middle game is losing, because sometimes white has also chances for attack. So black is losing, but we can see that it was quite long game, surprisingly. So mm, we could expect that in few games black will resign, but it's not. So rook d1, queen b4, queen c4 played Alekhine. Rook b8. Knight max Euwe, takes, h3. Okay, anyway, very sad position for black. Rook c8 he played. Very logical idea looks to play rook b8 and after this play this. To attack f7. Okay, maybe black can try to play this and bishop e8 he played. And suddenly, no, white cannot win immediately because if rook e7, king f8. So, and white has problem to defend. Okay, rook b6 is winning. If rook takes, so two pawns are hanging, e6 and a6. So this, bishop under attack. If king f8, rook e7, e6 is coming, game is over. So it was possible. How to subscribe? Okay, please ask somebody who made subscription. There are many spectators. I am not so strong in technical part of Twitch. Okay, so Alekhine played rook c8. Many moves are winning here. Rook b2, king g3, rook b3, f3, rook b2. So Euwe is fighting. He is trying to play bishop f1. So he's looking for some chances. It's good. G8, rook c7. Black cannot defend f7 pawn, bishop f1. What is this? Rook takes g2 he played. G5 I am thinking. That idea. Okay, hard to believe that it works. Maybe rook f6 and f4 simply. Idea of rook f6 that now white can take with king. Because immediately if f4, g takes f4, white cannot take with king because rook f2 check and rook f7. So rook f6 is important to have rook in protected squares. So rook f6 check and f4. So if rook takes king f3, simply winning. So if here king takes, black has no chance to survive. Rook g5 is mated threat. So g5 was possible, but it's not enough. So rook takes g2, he played king f4, g5, king e3, rook e2. Alekhine repeat moves and play king c3. Also problem for black that a7 pawn is attacked. Rook d3, king c2, rook a3. And white has several possibilities to win. Of course, rook takes a7 looks like quite good. Thanks for many subscription. It's very important for me that people wants to support my channels. This bishop d3 check, king b2, bishop f5, a6. End of story. e7 is coming and game is over. So rook takes f7 was possible, but Alekhine played f4, also good. He wants to play for the mate. So g takes f4, what else? F takes g5 and rook takes h7 is threat. Bishop c5 instead of bishop f5. Sorry. Here, bishop c4 you mean, probably. Bishop c4, but anyway a6 is coming. And you cannot take on a6. Okay, so it doesn't matter. Both of these moves are losing. So g takes f4. Okay, what else? So he cannot ignore it. Bishop d3 is possible. But king b2. Rook takes a5. And now white can simply take with rook probably, and then rook f6 is coming. It's easy win. Bishop g6, rook f6, then h4, h4. Rook a8, in which position rook a8? Okay, so of course white has many ways to win. Few moves back. Okay, rook. So where rook a8? Before or after this position? Just after, okay. So where rook a8? Okay, so f4 he played. Rook takes f4. Rook h4 mate is threat. And bishop is hanging. Bishop d3 check is impossible because after king b2, white has two threats. Rook is attacked and also rook h4 is coming. So bishop e2 is only move, but not enough to survive. Rook f6 he played. I was thinking. h4 also possible. But if h4, bishop h5. Probably black should play to prepare bishop g6. Okay, anyway, this position is loser. So he played rook f6, king h5, king d2 he played. So Euwe is fighting till the end. So rook takes e6 is bad because bishop c4. Okay, it's not difficult to see it, of course. But anyway, rook f7 is good idea. But if rook f7, bishop d3. If bishop d3, white can play king d2. And black cannot defend his pawn. Not king b2, because after king b2, rook takes a5. But king d2 is really strong, and the problem for black that his pawn is attacked on e7, and if a6, white is just winning with rook f3. But not rook g3. Rook g3 is less precise because rook a2 check and rook a3, and rook takes g3. But after rook f3, black can resign simply. Okay, so rook f7 was possible. Of course, white has many possibilities to win. So Alekhine played king d2. He wants to know where black bishop goes. bishop c4. Bishop d3 is impossible because rook f3, as I explained it already. So bishop c4, rook g7. Good enough. h6. Black can take on a5, but it's not solution. So this check. King h4 not possible because rook h6 mate. So king h5 only move, and after rook f8, white wins easily. So rook h8 mate is threats. If king h6, rook g4, white is winning the bishop because double threat. If, for example, rook d5, king c3, bishop d3, rook h8, bishop h7, rook h4 check, and then I'm taking the bishop. So king h4 played Max Euwe. Sorry, not here, king h4. He played h6 Max Euwe here. Like whispers, okay, I can do some pause. h6. Baco, no puedo mejorarlo. Close to micro. Okay, I move a little bit closer. Turn on. It's 100%. It's good. Okay, so rook g6. White is just taking the pawn. Rook d3 played Max Euwe. I'm trying to understand why, because more logical looks to take here. Of course, I don't believe that black can survive in this position, but anyway, why not to take the pawn? Okay, maybe just take, check. So king h4 is not possible because rook g4, so king h5 is only move, and now white has king e3 probably, because rook takes e5, king d4. It's original fork with king. Black is losing the piece because rook g5 is not possible, rook h6 mate. If not rook g5, black losing the piece. So after king e3, white also have threat to play king f4 and then mate. So black has no time to take on a2, so black is totally losing because of this. Although, okay, black can try something like this. Just to continue to play, but very small chances for success. Of course, white can do many things here. Rook h6, king g5, rook g6, rook g6, king f5, and h1. h4 will take with rook by check. So, ¿qué torneo estará jugando? No sé todavía. No. ¿Cómo ganar después de alfil a2? Probablemente jaque. h4. Ahora jaque. Rey h3, jugada única. Esto pierde mate. rey h3, después de rey h3, torre g5. Y después peón h gana la partida. Torre h8, h5, h6, h7. Sí. Blanco está ganando, por supuesto. White is winning here. Okay, so, but anyway, rook takes a5 looks like more logical choice. Probably immediately king is okay. King e3 is same. So king e3 is possible immediately, but after bishop a2, same variations. So rook d3 played max Euwe, king c2, rook d8. Okay, everything is losing. So white has exchange up and pawn up, so black has no chances. King d4. Alekhine doesn't afraid open checks. Bishop d5. Everything is winning. King f4. Rook g5, rook h6. Mate in threat, and after h4, Max Euwe resigned. Okay. Not premature, because he has no defense against king g3. So if king takes h4, rook h6, and mate, and if other move, king g3 and rook g5 is coming. So after this game 19, the score was +2 in favor of Alekhine, and it was very difficult to imagine that he can lose the match, but he lost. I think so. I think I would lost such position more quickly, but I think it's better to fight anyway, especially in short time control. So I want to improve my fighting abilities in bad positions. For example, Wensley saw against me in game 3 of our match had totally losing position, but I didn't want it. So sometimes, okay, so it's good idea to fight, but sometimes if you have a bad position, I'm speaking about myself as well. It's stressful, but it's good idea if you can calm yourself and try to do the best what is possible to do in the bad position and try. So fighting spirit is good, and it's of course I cannot tell that I have no fighting spirit in bad position, but frankly speaking, it's not the strongest part of mine as well. So it's something which I need to improve, and I wish the same to the spectators. Okay, so. In Ukraine is a new day started. It's 12:15. So about wishes, game Carlsen Nibak, game my game against Magnus in Trompovsky from Berlin. So Karpov Korchnoi Dragon. Rossolimo was wishes, Italian Gioco Piano, and game 15 and 16 from match Alekhine Euwe. Are there any more wishes from my spectators? Before the finish this stream, I want to ask if Trompovsky. Okay, Trompovsky in general, or just my game against Magnus, or my different games from Trompovsky. Trompovsky. Okay, I will write for myself. Okay, so my next report, anyway, I'm planning to games 15 and 16 of match Alekhine Euwe, and later probably I will prepare Trompovsky or something of this list. Mm, no, I don't think that Max Euwe was weaker than other world champions. So, for example, it depends in which time. However, for example, I cannot tell that he was weaker than Tal. Okay, it's different time. It depends in which time, but he is quite a good player and very well prepared theoretically. When is my next stream? Okay, probably I will do it even tomorrow. Yinchi Dingliren? Yinchi with Queen Sacrifice or what? Yinchi Dingliren. No, I didn't analyze in my stream Yinchi against Dingliren. Is that game with Queen Sacrifice, right? Or not? Aha, okay, I will write for myself. Yinchi. Yin Shi Ding. Okay, I will check. Okay, so thanks for your attention. I need to go to sleep now. Okay, goodbye. Good night.